Hello, welcome back to this channel. This is my fourth class on current affairs for political science and governance. So, today's topic is about today we have to discuss almost four topics and we will see them one by one. And we will start from the new parliament building, which was inaugurated recently. Let us see in this particular topic there is nothing conceptual, so what here we have to do, we have to remember the important points which might be asked in the exam, and we will analyze them and I will try to simplify this for you. So let us start from the basics. So this current project is part of Central Vista Development Redevelopment Plan, which is an infrastructure investment project involving multiple projects. It was inaugurated in 1931. It included Rashtrapati Bhavan, North and South Blocks, Parliamentary House, Record Office, later named as the National Archives, along with the India Gate Monument and civic gardens on either side of Rajpath. Central Vista Redevelopment Project aims to strengthen governance infrastructure by building new facilities for India's parliament, and it is an efficient and sustainable central secretariat. So this was little bit about the which took the project for the building of our new parliament. Uh, it is under Central Vista Redevelopment Plan, and it was inaugurated in 1931. So this thing which we have to, this plan was inaugurated. This project, this plan was this Central Vista Redevelopment Plan. It was inaugurated in 1931. This thing we have to remember. If I would try to mark it for you, so this will make it easy. This thing which we have to remember, in what year it might be asked, in what year this was inaugurated, or a question will be framed like this: the current parliament, its project was planned by whom? So we have to know about this thing. We need to remember these things. There is nothing to be discussed here. There is nothing conceptual. It is all factual in this topic. So we will go it by one by one. Now let us see what our second slide brings to us. So it is about Central Vista Development and Redevelopment Project. It aims to strengthen governance infrastructure by building new facilities. So its aim is to strengthen governance by, it is mainly focused on infrastructure building. This thing we have to know. There is nothing much about this in this slide. Let's move to the next slide. Now let's come to the core topic. Why did we need the new parliament? What was the need for that? When we already had a parliament, why do we need to spend that much of money on something new infrastructure? What led us to this thing? Let us see what were the things which led us to this, for building, which led us to for building the new parliament. As we know, in the old parliament we had narrow seating space. This was planned back in this was built back in 1921 and 27. It took 6 years to be completed. So there was narrow seating space for the legislatures, and number of seats, as we know, by 2026 number of seats are likely to be increased when the new census will come up. So regarding when the new census will come up, representation of people in the legislative assembly will increase depending upon the population of that state. So it is likely that number of the members of the parliament is likely to increase by time. So what we need in the old parliament, there are narrow seating place space. It was very much narrow for the future. That's why we need to go for the next building. Now this number of seats likely to increase, as I discussed it. It has distressed infrastructure. As we know, over the period, addition in services have led to seepages and destroyed the overall aesthetics of the building. Fire safety is a major concern as the building is not designed according to the present fire norms. You know, it was designed during colonial era, and what were the norms then? Then, for example, if we will see uh, uh, which in which earthquake zone that time Delhi was in. So things change by time. It happens, which is very much natural, and due to the anthropogenic activities, nature also changes. So this leads to different zones. This leads us to the different zone from one zone to another zone. So these things, what were the situations, what were the environmental situations, what were different situations then, it was planned for that time only. So right now we are living in different century, and our priorities are different, our norms are different, so it is out of dated, we can say. And here we have obsolete communication infrastructure, as it is outdated communication infrastructure there. The present, it has poor acoustic system, and we have huge safety concerns, structural safety concerns in the old building also. The current parliament building was built when Delhi was in seismic zone 2. Currently, it is in seismic zone 4. So you can see the huge gap when it was building, which seismic zone we were in and what seismic zone we are in right now. So there is a huge gap, and for that we need to adapt to the time, and we need to go for the next infrastructure. It was needed, and also in adequate workspace for employees in this. So these are a few fundamental things which led us for the development or for the construction of new parliament. Let's see what next slide brings us. So what what is the theme of this Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat spirit? It has Lok Sabha Hall, which is based on the theme of national bird, which is peacock. It has Raj Sabha Hall, which is based on the theme of the national flower, the lotus. We have a national tree, the banyan tree, which is planted on the premise of the parliament. We have inclusion of the symbol Senghol, symbolizing the transfer of power, is placed next to the speaker's chair. Ashokan pillar on the roof of Parliament House, hand-woven carpets from Bhadohi, known as Carpet City due to its beautiful hand-woven carpets. So here, if you have time, please do search about Bhadohi and search about uh, what it is famous for and what are its best carpets. This might be asked in the exam because it is very much related to our UPSC. UPSC does ask from these core topics. It does ask like this, from my personal experience, UPSC always asks from the current affairs. Every question has something to do with the current affairs, whether it is from history, whether it is from geography, whether it is from any subject. They would how they would ask it related to the current affairs. So here I would request you, if you have time, please search about Badohi, which is in UP, about this carpets and all that stuff. And let's see what does it have. Please also study well about Ashokan time, its pillars, uh, and see his rock edictus and major rock edictus. Go through Ashokan, the Mauryan Empire. Go through that part of the history. Questions might be asked even from the Buddhist, you know, Buddhist part of the Indian history. Questions might be asked in this exam. So these are very much related. This is how, whenever you study something in the, it is my advice for every aspirant. Or if you are aspiring to be an IAS officer, you are trying to conquer your prelims exam. Always, you know, always, what I was saying. If you are an aspirant of any exam, so which has something to do with your current affairs, always see the topics in the current affairs and do the inclusive study of that. Go what how it is related to history, how it is, does it have any relation with the geography, does it have any relation with the countries, where it is found, what is its religious background. Check everything. If you will cover all the dimensions of the topic, it would be very easy for you to crack any exam. This is my suggestion and my advice for every aspirant. So let's move to the next here next slide. Well, let's see what it has to bring us. This parliament has six gates dedicated to water, land, and sky, and Ashoka Chakra is made on the gate of the Parliament House. We had brought wood from Nagpur, marble from Gujarat, stonework of Rajasthan, and bamboo wood flooring from Tripura. So please go through these things, see what which quality of the wood is found in Nagpur, see their infrastructure, and marble in Gujarat, stonework of Rajasthan, and also the environmental things happening in Tripura. Main features of the new building: Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat spirit, modern infrastructure, and spacious. What does it mean? It has huge space to accommodate for next 150 years. Before going to the to our next topic for today's class, let us see the features of the previous, the present, that time, which was the present parliament building. India's present parliament house, which was before the new was constructed. It is a colonial era building design. It was designed by British Sir Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, which took them 6 years to construct. Building housed the Imperial Legislative Council. It is popularly believed that the unique circular shape of the Josath Yogini temple in Morena. Please go through this Josath Yogini temple. I will try to write it here. I will see whether I can. Sorry, I guess I missed my slide. Here I will write. I will try to write. No, it's not easy for me to write here. CH A U S A Chosat Yogi temple in Morena, Madhya Pradesh had inspired the design of the council house. So this much you should know about the previous parliament building. Now our new, second important topic which we have to study is about the law of sedition. First, as usual, we'll know why it was in use. Recently, 22nd Law Commission in its 279th report on usage of the law of sedition recommend the retention of law on sedition. Law Commission recommended us to retain the law of sedition. So, what is the law of sedition? Let's see how it is described in the Book of Laws. Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code 1870 defines sedition as whoever by words, remember these things, whoever by words, either spoken or written, or by signs, or by visible representation, or otherwise brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law. If we will see the definition of this which is given in IPC, first it is very much colonial in nature. This law was brought after the revolt of 1857. It is the time when nationalism was gaining its approach. Nationalism was growing. There were many revolts against the British government, and many revolts were against British Empire, and there were many people who had understood that the criticism to the government is also, and we can also criticize the government. So it was during that time when revolts were going on, government was highly criticized, and they brought this IPC. CRPC was brought very much later. IPC was brought then, and it defined the sedition law. How it defined? It defined that whoever by anybody who tries to harm or tries to insult the government, it is in nutshell I am saying, by words either spoken or written, or by visible representation, or otherwise brings and or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt or excites, he would be booked under Sedition Act. So this definition still prevails during this time also, and it has gone through a lot of criticism. For example, we will discuss about the criticism in it. First, in Shreya Singhal case 2015, sedition subject, it is very subject to definition. It does not it does not simply tell us exact what sedition is. It has very, if we will see, it has very broad meaning in it, and it can apply to anybody, whoever. Even it has a huge drawback that if anybody would start criticizing the government, he can be booked under the sedition. And it does not simplify the definition. It has very broad meaning in it, and what is needed, that there should be a very well codified definition for that, which should specify the acts of sedition. Second, a chilling effect on dissent. What does it mean? The fear of being charged with sedition can discourage individuals from expressing their opinion and engage in legitimate criticism. When you have such laws in the government, everybody would fear that if I would say anything, whether it would be constructive criticism or anything, they would fear that if we will start talking against the government, we will be booked under the sedition, and they would stop expressing themselves, and under Article 19, the freedom of expression will be restricted. So it is very important for the government, for the developed nation to have such laws which are well defined. We should know what are the limits, which line we don't have to cross. It should be very well defined. And third criticism about it is the low conviction rate. Even though a lot of people are put under this sedition law, but the people convicted who are really who had really, you know, did harm to the nation or tried to harm the nation are very few. If we will see the conviction rate in the case filed under section 124A has fluctuated between 3% and 33% over the years, and the pendency, which is the most important thing, the pendency of such cases in court reached a high of 95% in 2020 only, thus filling cases under the law itself can become a punishment. So it is one of the biggest drawbacks of this, that it is actually the drawback of our judiciary system right now, that we have lots of pendency of cases still going, and it takes time to come to the final conclusion, and in this money innocent people are caught up. So it does need to be well defined. And one more thing, there is an allegation of misuse. Whenever anybody from the opposite party, anybody from opposition starts to criticize, he would be booked under the Sedition Act, and it would be very much, discriminated towards them. One more thing, when you have other laws who are criticizing the sedition, they are saying when we have other different laws which inclusively define what sedition is, why do we need this IPC Act? For example, there are laws which allow for preventive detention and imposition of restriction under section 144 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 on those who seek to threaten the unity, integrity and security of India. The separate law under section 124A of IPC may not be needed. And repealed in other jurisdictions like in United Kingdom, Australia, Singapore, the sedition law was officially repealed, especially in United Kingdom in 2009, citing its negative effect on freedom of speech and expression. So these are the criticisms which it does go through. Now let us see how judiciary interpreted section 124A over years. We have cases, for example, Romesh Thapar versus State of Madras 1950, in which Supreme Court said criticism of government exciting disaffection or bad feelings towards it is not to be regarded as a justifying ground for restricting the freedom of expression. So if we will see the language of this, that if we fear the government would be criticized, this does not justify that we curtail the rights of free expression of the citizens. Then in Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar 1962, Supreme Court upheld the validity of section 124A. The court explicitly recognized that the states need protection from these forces who seek to jeopardize the safety and stability of the state. Then we have Vinod Dua versus Union. In 2021, Supreme Court held citizen has right to criticize and comment upon the measures undertaken by the government and its functionaries, so long as he does not incite people to violence against the government established by the law. It, however, balanced this Dua versus Union of India 2021. It kind of balanced it, that there should be a balanced approach if you want to criticize it, but don't don't incite people to violence against the government. Then we have SG Wambait Care versus Union of India 2023, in which Supreme Court directed all the state governments and the central governments to keep all the pending trials, appeals and proceedings arising out of the charge framed under the Section 124A to be kept in abeyance, temporary dissolving, मतलब कि ऐसे ही उनको चुप करा उन केसेस को, उनको डिसॉल्व करा, टेम्पररी डिसॉल्विंग मतलब कि temporary staying those cases which were which are the pending cases regarding IPC 124. So these are few important judgments by judiciary. The question might be framed like this: Ramesh Thapar versus State of Madras, Kedarnath Singh versus and State of Bihar, Keshwanand Bharti case, 1973 State of Kerala versus O, and SG Vinod Dua versus Union, which among these four cases in which IPC was defined, something like that. Question can be asked. So we need to know some important judgments from the Supreme Court. It is very important for us in our prelims, also for in our mains, also to make our point. So this is very much important. We should know about these judgments. So till now, what we learned about IPC, we learned the definition. Second, we discussed about criticism. Third, we saw how judiciary interpreted it. Now, if we criticize anybody, he would have the point also. So let us see what are the arguments given by Law Commission for retention. First and foremost important, to safeguard unity and integrity of India. Section 124A has utility in combating anti-national and secessionist elements. It combats, curbs anti-national elements if arising in the country. Second, sedition is a reasonable restriction under Article 123. Article 19. As we know, Article 19 is a fundamental right, a right to express oneself. Usually no right is absolute. They have some restrictions. Similarly, Article 19, right to expression, it has its restriction. It has IPC, it is a reasonable restriction. We cannot say whatever we want. We have to respect the boundaries. As an aspirant, as you aspire to be an IAS, when you write the questions, you have to balance the criticism with the pros. What are good things, what you are criticizing on, advantage of that thing. So we should have a very balanced approach, very neutral approach. This is what UPSC demands from us. So it is a reasonable restriction under Article 19. Then what we have, existence of counter-terror legislation does not fill the space of Section 124A. For example, we have counter-terrorism acts. Terror legislation does not, in the absence of provisions like Section 124A of IPC, any expression that incites violence against the government would invite stringent laws like unlawful activities. For example, what does the author want to say here? That if this IPC was not there, then we have very strong laws under which are very critical, which are very dangerous laws, under which the man could be convicted, and for them then bail would be very, and their reputation would be harmed. So IPC, it is a buffer, it separates you from being a terrorist or from being charged under the Terrorism Act and being charged under non-terrorist act, but the motive of being charged under that you had tried to criticize the government. We won't say it is criticizing the government, it is not that bad, but we have to be in limits. So if IPC was not there, then everybody would be charged under the terrorist laws, and that would have very bad impact on the country. Then we have law to be judged independent. Law is to be judged independently. Don't need to bring the colonial era here when we study this sedation law, that it was meant that time by the British government to subdue the revolt, to suppress the people who were asking for the independence. So we don't have to study it in that angle. We have to, we have to go, we have to be a very broad minded here, and we have to see its impact, how it is, how it can be useful in present era. If we will think that, if we will bring that approach to this law, then it would be very much dangerous if we will connect everything to the colonial era. We have to study it separately. We have to study it according to the present situation, according to the present needs of the people, and how the present government will work. We have to study it according to that. We don't need to bring the colonial era in it. If we will bring it, then हमारे दिल में ही ऐसी बात उठेगी, अरे यार ये उन्होंने बनाया है तो ये अच्छी चीज नहीं होगी. We don't have to think, we don't have to study it like that कि उन्होंने, they did this for the purpose of curbing revolt of independence. This had to be studied separately. Then also, what one of the arguments which is given here, that is realities differ in every case. Yes, it is true that everybody who is convicted under IPC is not trying to promote violence, but there are elements which needed to be checked. So this is sorry, this is, every realities differ by the cases, by different people. Courts of courts of competitive jurisdiction like the US and UK etc. had their own history. They have their geography, population, and what here first, what realities differ in every jurisdiction. For example, if we will see in states, by every judgment and by every jurisdiction, realities differ. By every person, reality differs. First, we will see by every person that different people have different mentalities. They, some are trying, some are really trying, talking. If they are criticizing, they are criticizing for the betterment. But some have political agenda against the political party, and they are criticizing them. And some have lack of knowledge. This is one criteria. Then we have different jurisdictions. For example, in USA they have different jurisdiction. Their people are different, their mentality is different. In UK they are different people, and in India we have different people. So realities and the mentalities, they are very much, parallel. So if they, so if we have to study this, we have to look in this fact that the realities of the jurisdiction differ. The people of USA, they have different mentalities. If they would approach towards it in a different way, yeah, the realities of people have different. And in UK, something which they, what would be offensive to them, the same thing might not be offensive to us. So we have to look it in a different way. These are the, arguments given by the Law Commission for the retention of IPC Act. Now let us see what we have to discuss. This is very much, important topic: grievance, redressal, assessment, and index. First, before, you know before going to this topic, I want you to think a bit what we studied, imagine it, visualize that thing, and then try to write the points. I know my way of teaching might not be good, I may not be able to express it, but I swear whatever I am giving you, it would be very useful for you in the exam. So go through these PPTs, or if you would ever look into this, go through these PPTs, mute the video, and search about them. These are very important topics for your exam. Now let's come back to our new topic. It is a grievance redressal assessment and index. What it is, let us see why it was in news. Union Ministry of State for Personal Public Grievances and Persons launched the grievance redressal assessment and index for the year 2022. It was launched. Then it is conceptualized and designed by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievance. This might be asked in our exam: who designs and conceptualizes the grievance redressal assessment and index? So we should know that it is this body, Department of Administration, Reforms and Public Grievance, DARPG. Under which ministry? Under the Ministry of, usually UPSC asks such questions, under which ministry does it come? So we should know. These reports are the part of 10-step centralized public grievance redressal and management system. This is also important: central public grievance and redressal and management system, reforms that were adopted by the DARPG, who adopted the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievance. Under Ministry of Personal Public Grievance and Pensions, reports are part of 10-step centralized public grievance redressal and management system. Let's move to the objective of the index is organization-wise comparative picture. To present organization-wise comparative picture and provide valuable insights about the strength and areas of improvement in grievance redressal mechanism. What complaints you are making and the improvements in that. Index is based on 12 indicators spread across 4 key dimensions: efficiency, feedback, domain, and organizational commitment. What organizations committed and how successful they were providing, and what your grievances are and how successfully they responded to that. And 89 central ministries and departments were assessed and ranked based on a comprehensive index. 89 central ministries and departments were assessed and ranked based on comprehensive index. Then we have, if I will rub it here, so that then we have average disposal time has improved of the central ministries and departments, has improved. Average disposal time of central ministries, how quickly they dispose, how quickly they respond to the grievances, has improved from usually they used to take 32 days in 2021 to 27 days in 2022. So before going to the next slide, we will see benefits of grievance redressal mechanism. It ensures minimum governance and maximum governance. Second, channel for citizens to voice their grievance. It is a channel where citizens can complaint, what are the things they are lacking, and they would come grievance about anything, and what were the organizations manifestos, and uh, how good are they about that. Then we have another benefit, that is citizen feedback helps the ministry to analyze the quality of its service. If we have this citizen feedback through grievances, they will analyze the quality of their service what they had provided, and it ensures accountability, transparency, and trust building, and improves service delivery. It ensures accountability, it ensures transparency and trust building, and also it improves service delivery. Let's move to the next topic. Next slide, sorry. As per second ARC report, it is about public administration and governance. Grievance redressal mechanism is one of the important mechanism which can be usefully applied to make the administration citizen centric. It will make the administration citizen centric for the people. It is its basic principle is, if the promised level of service delivery is not achieved, or if a right of a citizen is not honored, then the citizen should be able to take recourse. It has two nodal agencies handling public grievance. One is DARPD, Department of Administrative DAR and Public Domain. Then we have Directorate of Public Grievance. DARPG. Sorry, I had wrote it DARPD. Here I have a little correction. I would correct it with DARPG. It is Department of. It has two nodal agencies. First is DARP, Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances, and Directorate of Public Grievances. These are the two nodal agencies of grievance redressal mechanism. Then let's move to the next slide. What are the issues with existing public grievance? Low level of awareness of the rights and duties of citizens. People are not aware that a system of redressal exists in many of the government departments. Awareness of the people is very less. It is usually in every scheme of the government. People are less aware about the schemes. They should have. This is one of the issue with existing public grievance. Then we have overburdening judiciary. Usually departments have their internal system for redressal of grievances of its personal issues, but it is not working satisfactorily, and there is an element of bias in it, and non-settlement of grievances result in filling of petitions in the courts, and which leads to the overburdening of judiciary. Then we have non-uniformity, one of the issue. Wide variations exist across ministries and other organizations with respect to the framework, process, and capacity to handle the grievances. And then we have it has non-statutory backup. Is not treated as mandatory like RTI in many departments because it does not have any law backing it. We have lack of resources in it, and systematic problems. As in first slide, if you can remember, I told that these GRAI it was designed by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievance and Ministry of Personal, Public Grievance and Pensions. These, as I told you, this is very important. These reports are part of 10-step centralized public grievance redressal and management system, CPGRAMs. Now let us see what are these 10-step reforms. If you have notebook in your hand, please write it. I would repeat it. Universalization of CPGRAMS, universalization of Central Public Grievances Redressal and Management System. That is. Then we have use of AI in it. It should be in all languages. Grievance redressal index should be, feedback call center should be there. In citizen service center, monthly progress report, data strategy unit, one nation, one portal, Savetam capacity building programs. These I would repeat it again. Universalization of CPGRAMS. Then we have use of AI in CPGRAMS. Then we have CPGRAMS in all regional languages. Grievance redressal index, feedback call center, CPGRAMS in citizen service centers, Savetam's capacity building programs, monthly progress report, data strategy unit, and one nation, one portal. Now let's move to our last topic for today. It is about OTT regulations in India. Why it is in news? Recently, Digital Publisher Content Grievance Council has recommended punitive action on OTT platform involving the information technology rules. So let us see what is OTT. OTT or over the top platform or services that offer viewers access to movies, TV shows, and other media directly through the internet bypassing cable or satellite system. OTT, its full form is over the top platform. Over the top platforms. These are the are services that offer viewers access to movies, TVs like Netflix, Amazon Prime. We have Hotstar. These are OTT platforms, and without only internet is needed for them, and they bypass cable and satellites. And then when this article was written, that time India's viewership on OTT was 43 million, and it was expected by the end of 2023 it would reach 50 million, and we can say in 2024 it would be a little bit more than 50 million. Then current mechanisms for OTT regulations in India. And they are certain laws such as Information Technology Act. They regulate it. We have Indian Penal Code 1861, Information Technology Act 2000, Indian Penal Code 1861, Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986, and new IT rules 2021. Government has come up with the Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021. Under it is Section 87(2) of the Information Technology Act 2000. Its key provisions include what are its key provisions? Rules gave the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting the task of regulating content on OTT and online platform. So if this question would be asked, who can regulate it, who can regulate the content on OTT, it is Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Code of Ethics for Online News, OTT platform and digital media. This code of ethics prescribed the guidelines to be followed by OTT platforms and online news and digital media entities. They have to go for self-classification of content, for example, which is for universal, what is for above 7, what is for above 13, what is for above 16, and what is for the adults. Then they should provide parent locks. Platforms would be required to implement parent locks for content classified as above 13 or higher. For above 13 and higher, there should be parent locks there. co-regulation approach. India's approach to OTT regulation can be termed as a light touch co-regulation model. This might be asked in the question what this light touch co-regulation model is related to, where there is self-regulation at the industrial level and final oversight mechanism at the ministry level. Then there should have a grievance redressal mechanism. There should be grievance redressal officer, self-regulatory body, oversight mechanism. It should all be included in it. In this light touch to co-regulation model, it is very important. What does it mean? There should be self-regulation from the companies itself and the final oversight mechanism at the ministerial level. This is all about today's class. In today's discussion, we discussed about four main topics which were in the news then. First, it was the new parliament, then part of Central Vista redevelopment plan. Then we saw law on sedition and how it is criticized. Its definition, we discussed a little bit about that, and how judiciary interpreted it in different cases, and what are the arguments given by the law commission for retaining it. Then after that, we discussed a little bit about grievance redressal assessment and index, and what a grievance redressal mechanism is, what are the issues with the existing public grievance system, and what Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievance does, and what are 10 steps centralized public grievance redressal and management system. What are those 10 steps? We discussed about that. Then finally we discussed about OTT regulations. We discussed what OTT are, over the top platforms. We discussed their definition, their function. We discussed about how they are controlled by Indian laws. In India, how they are controlled, what are the existing laws. And we discussed how new IT rules 21 had government has come up with the recommendations or media, or we can say intermediary guidelines and digital media ethics code which they have to follow. In it, the important point, it is few important points I would recap. Self classification of content for universal, for above 7, for above 13, for above 16 and adults. We discussed about parent locks for above 13. We discussed about the term as light touch to regulate model, light touch co-regulation model, in which self-regulation from the industries and oversight mechanism at the ministerial level. And Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has the task of regulating content on OTT and online platforms. So what is way ahead for that? Need for national broadcasting policy. The various broadcasters like media broadcasters, OTT, etc. have different mechanisms. As we know, regulations are different and tariffs are different. So there is a need for national broadcasting policy. Then second way ahead is recognizing distinction between online content from convention. It needs to be recognized. For example, web content is generally more liberalized, covering themes and concepts that are not seen in conventional media. Thus, it tends to stray from conventional censorship paradigms and promotes innovation and creativity. Then one more thing is awareness about provisions. It should be separate. Regular auditing should be done, and we should engage the stakeholders. what are challenges associated with the OTT regulations? I would repeat those for you. Freedom of expression is there, law compliance is there, privacy and data protection, jurisdictional issues, difficult to monitor and ensure compliance. So these are few challenges. I will repeat it: freedom of expression, law compliance, privacy and data protection, jurisdictional issues, difficult to monitor and ensure compliance. So this is all for our today's class. I hope if you would see this video you would like it. And this was my fourth video which I made about current affairs for polity, and till now I had reached to the the month of June from 2023. Yet we have to discuss many more articles in it. I think if I will collaborate all this video, it would get to the number of 10 to 12 videos I have to make for the polity only. My aim is to include everything which is very much important for your prelims as well as mains exam. And if you would watch this, maybe now or maybe in future, but one thing I would tell you, after our prelims exam is over, I would upload the questions which had the direct connection to these topics which I discussed here, and I swear at least 30 to 40 questions would be related to these topics only. So if you are hearing it before your exam, you are going to get lucky. If you would listen this after your prelims exam, then you will regret. You may regret. I hope you will never regret. You would pass the exam itself, whether you watch this or not, but you would think that I should had watched these videos. And my sincere good wishes for you. Take care and study well. And please, if you like the initiative, it takes a lot of time for me, to prepare these videos, to go through many magazines and to deliver you these topics. So I hope you will appreciate it by liking the video and by subscribing. Thank you very much. Have a nice year.